Hey everybody, I'm going to be doing a full 1020 system hookup today. I'm going to use my electrodes and hook everything up. I have my gauze strips, I have my paste, my new prep, my Q-tips, my tape measure, and my glass head. I have a timer ready to go up here, so as soon as I am ready to begin the video, I will start that. I have my electrodes prepared, and I'm gonna get started. All right, so let me press my timer and yeah. All right, so first thing I'm gonna do is mark the nasion, which is the bridge of the nose between the eyes. Next, I'm going to come to the back of the head and mark where the bump is on the back of the head, which will line up with the tops of the ears. It's going to be right here. All right, so I got that mark prepared. So now I'm going to measure from my nasion to my inion, and I'm getting 36. So half of 36, I'm going to take 10% of 36 and measure up from my nasion in the front. 3.6. Just gonna be right here. And that is my FPZ mark. And then I'm gonna go back to the inion and measure up 3.6 centimeters, which is right there. All right, now I'm going to measure, this gives me my OZ, by the way, and then I'm gonna measure from my OZ to my FPZ, and I'm getting 29. Make sure that's correct. Yes, I do believe that is 29. So then I take half of 29, which is gonna be 14.5, and I mark that half of that 29 measurement, 29 centimeters, and that is my OZ at the very top. I'm going to take half of 14.5, which is 7.25, and mark right here. 7.25 is going to be like right there. And this gives me my FZ mark, the front of the head, and then from my OZ to my CZ to my OZ, I'm gonna measure again 7.25 centimeters and mark right there, and that gives me my PZ. So that is my first chain done. Now I'm going to mark my preauriculars, which is kind of right in front of the ear. Those are my landmarks. Now I'm going to, using my centimeter side, I'm gonna measure from my preauriculars, making sure I'm going through my OZ at the top. And I'm getting 36. So I take 10% of that, measure up 3.6 centimeters, and mark on both sides. And this gives me my T3 measurement on that side. And 3.6 up from this is going to be right here. And then that gives me my T4 on this side. Then I measure from my T4 to my T3, making sure that my tape measure goes through the CZ mark. I get 29, I take half of 29, which is 14.5, and I'm gonna mark up here at 14.5. All right, and then I'm gonna measure from my T4 to CZ and take half of that measurement, which is gonna be 7.25, because it's 14.5 anyway, and mark right there. And that gives me my T3. that gives me my C4 measurement on that side. Then I'm going to measure from T3 to my CZ, and that gives me 14.5. Take half of this 14.5, gives me 7.25, and that is my C3 measurement. All right, that is the second chain complete. Now I begin with the circumference. We cross the mark, my FPC mark right there, and then we place the 0 at the FPZ mark, and then go all the way around the head, making sure you're going through OZ. And I'm getting 55 centimeters. Well, actually, let me make sure I got that right. 55 meters, almost exactly. So I'm gonna take 10% of that, and then, which is 5.5, and then I'm gonna cut 5.5 in half, which is 2.75. And I'm gonna mark that from my FPC to here, which is 2.75. It's gonna be like right here. Marking that, and that gives me my FP1. And then 2.75. It's gonna be like right here. So that's 2.75 centimeters, and this gives me my FP2 over here. So now what I'm gonna do is, using my tape measure, I'm gonna cross those two measurements. Excellent. So now I'm gonna start at FP1, and going back towards the back of the head, I'm gonna measure 5.5 centimeters, going back to that first measurement. Going back again. This gives me my that mark I just made gives me my F7 measurement, or landmark. All right, and I just crossed my T3 landmark. Now I'm starting from T3 and making my, what is this? That's T5, my T5 landmark. I place the 0 back on there again. And 5.5 will be right there. All right, and then I'm going to start back at the front of the head on FP2, doing the same thing, going backwards, which is going to be 5.5 from FP2 to 0. And that's my F8 landmark. Starting at my F8 landmark, I'm going to go back another 5.5. I made this mark way too big. And I just crossed my T4. And then now I got my T6 right here. And then for my hang on, let me double check that measurement. Make sure it's correct. Yeah, that's correct. All right, so I got my T6 landmark up, and then 5.5 to here is gonna be right here. And so for my T5, I go to my O1 and I now have my O1 right here, and then my O2 is the mark I just made just then. And I'm gonna go ahead and cross these by just lining up my tape measure with the lines. So those are well, and just for clarity, I'm going to put a little, I'm gonna clear that up right there. All right, so that is the back, that is the third chain, and now I'm gonna begin on my banana strips, and I'm gonna start at FP1 in the front, measuring through my P3 mark and going back down to my O1, I get 24.5, and half of that's going to be 12.25. 24.5, yeah, half of that's going to be 12.25. 12.25, which is going to be like right there. All right, and then I'm going to measure from my FP1 to my P3 that I just crossed, and I'm going to take half of that 12.25, and I'm going to, this is kind of a weird measurement, I'm going to take half of the 12, which is 6, and then I'm going to do just a little bit more than that, because halving 20.25 is virtually impossible. I probably should have rounded to begin with in that measurement. But anyway, all right, so I'm just gonna do like right there. All right, so then measuring back from my P3 to my O1, get 12.5, so I'm gonna do the same thing, which is taking a little bit more than 6 for my mark. And my mistake, I believe I called this my P3 measurement a little bit ago. That is actually my C3 measurement. This one that I just made is my P3. And the one I made up here is my F3. Yes. Alright. So that is the first, or the one side of the double banana. So now I'm gonna go to the other side, starting at FP2, going all the way back to my O2, and I'm getting 25, which is 12.5 exactly. You know what? Yeah, we'll do 12.5. All right, it's 12.5. So I just crossed my C4 landmark right there, and I'm gonna measure from my C4 to my FP2. Half of 12.5 is 6.25, so I'm just gonna mark there. And that is my F4 mark right there. And then from my O2, I'm gonna measure and mark my 6.25 is gonna be right here. All right. All right, so that concludes my double bananas. Now I'm gonna start at the front of the head, and I need to cross my F7 and F8. So I'm going to line up my F7 and F8 with FP1 and FP2 to create a starting point to do the last chain. Make like a line right there and use that to cross, so that I'm going to begin at F7 going to F8. I'm getting 22, no, 21. Okay, so I'm getting, actually, I don't think I had that right. $21. Yep, 21. All right, so half of 21 is gonna be 10 and a half. Just gonna be right here. Which lines up perfectly with my FPC. And then I'm gonna take half of the 10 and a half and mark that, which half of the 10 and a half is gonna be 10 and a half is 5.25. Okay. And that just crossed, so I just crossed my FZ and my F3 right at the front. So now I'm gonna come over here and measure my 10 and a half from my FZ to my F8 and mark it 5.25, which will cross my F4. All right, so then I go to the back and I do the same thing. I have to make my measure my starting points off by crossing my T5 and my T6 by lining up my tape measure with FP or O1 and O2. All right, so now that those are done, I start at T5, making sure I go through my PZ measurement. Make sure I'm on the right. All right, we're gonna round that to 24, so half of that's gonna be 12. I just crossed my PZ. I'm gonna take half of that 12, which is 6, and I'm gonna mark there. And that crosses my P4. I'm gonna measure from my my T5 to my PZ. Take half of that, which is 6, and mark right here. That crossed my P3. And that is a complete measurement. Made some of my lines a little bit too big. I'm not sure why I did that tonight specifically, but I wanted to make sure y'all could see it. All right, so the next, I'm gonna begin applying the electrodes. First thing that I would do on a normal head is I would take my new prep and I would dip my Q-tip in it, and for each point on the head, I would scrub each place for 15 seconds in one direction to remove any buildup or debris. But as this is a glass head and it will hinder the electrodes from sticking to the head, I will not be doing that. I'm just going to use the electrodes to apply to the head for now. Alright, so first things first, I would take my new prep and I would scrub each individual place, and then I would take my electrode, dip it into the paste, scoop it out, and then go ahead and get a gauze pad in your hand. I'm gonna actually start from the back. That's my preferred method at O1. So I stick my electrode on and I apply my gauze over top. And you keep doing this until you have all of your electrodes on. But I usually start on the left side, left hemisphere, before I move on to the right side, so it kind of gives me some order. Again, I'd be scrubbing the entire time, or before I put each electrode on, for 15 seconds. And one spot that is not marked right now would be A1 and A2, which is directly behind the ear on the bone. And I'm gonna go ahead and apply those electrodes to that on this side. Okay, got that one. Go ahead and start on my midline with my PZ. And then I'm gonna put my reference electrode on, which is between PZ and CZ. Again, I would normally be scrubbing right in here, but since this is not a normal head, I'm just gonna put it on. Do brown. Now I'm putting my CZ electrode on. Then next one would be FC. Now I need FP1. Alright, so that side of the head is complete, so I'm gonna now flip it around. Alright, so now starting with the left side of the head. I'm gonna start at the front now. So I feel like that'll be easier. I'm gonna put my FP2 electrode on. And I like to just kind of put the wires towards the back to prevent them from sagging or trying to fall off or anything. And then I'm also going to get I'm trying to kind of mix up the colors so they're not right next to each other. So I'm placing my ground or COM electrode at the moment, which is at the FPZ landmark. And let's see what's next. What color? Let's do yellow. And I'm doing my F4 mark. My C4 mark. My P4 mark. Alright, and then next I'm gonna do my O2 right here. Get out of my way. Alright, and I'm gonna do T6. And next is my T. T4 is my next one. See how I face my electrodes like pointing towards the back, so that way it's naturally it's gonna want to go that way, and it's not going to be bending or trying to fall off in any way. Just did a red, so now I'm gonna do a yellow. So T4 is gonna be yellow. Oh no, I already did T4. So F8 is gonna be yellow. Alright, and that is complete. I'm gonna do my my LOC and my ROC. I'm gonna go ahead and just place them on. Alright, and that's it. Actually, well, put gauze over this too. And ta-da! That is a complete 1020 system hookup. And my wires are a mess. Alright. Thank you very much for watching. Oh, actually, wait. Before I say that, let me check my timer, which says 27 minutes and 14 seconds. So it was probably about 26 minutes, we'll call it. So I'm pretty happy with that. That gives me plenty of time to continue to run a study, and also I can factor in time for scrubbing that I would have done on a regular head. Thank you so much for watching.